Okay, so today's session we will try to understand how to extract the data from SAP ECC system. And if time permits, we will also see that how to extract the data from SAP BW system. And maybe in tomorrow's session we will see that how to load into both. So as you know that why actually we have to extract the data from SAP and what is the importance of extracting the data from SAP and load it into the respective target systems. I don't have to explain to you so what is the reason behind that and on everything, but we will see that what are the steps involved if you want to proceed with an integration. So there are the standard steps that we need to have if you want to proceed with the usage of the SAP as a data source. So we need to make sure that the SAP BODS and SAP ECC system on the same network or if they are in the shared network also, that is fine. But they should be having some bridge in between that. That will be taken care by the network people. You don't have to worry at all. And so before proceeding with the extraction of an SAP ECC system, so we have to make sure that the SAP BODS, the ship transports with the installation of an SAP BODS should be deployed onto the SAP ECC system. So that part has to be taken care. And also create the program ID in SAP ECC system for RFC connection. So register the program ID in SAP BODS console. So create the SAP applications type of data store on SAP BODS to import the metadata from SAP ECC system. So these are some standard steps. So before proceeding with an extraction of SAP ECC data, so you have to follow. So these are the objects actually the from SAP ECC we can extract the objects from SAP ECC. So something like an extractors, hierarchies, tables, idocs, and BAPI functions. So in our the session, so we will see that most of the time in all the companies and all the projects, we will be using the tables as our data sources, and so we have something called as extractors takes the second level, and the hierarchies also will take the third level of usage of an SAP ECC system. But normally the tables are very regularly, very effectively used data sources from SAP ECC system. Now, so we have several options while creation of an SAP application type of data store. We have something called as an ABAP execution option. We have something called as data transfer method. So these are the two important options. We will see the significance of each and everything. So when I say ABAP execution option, when you say ABAP execution option, so whenever you are going to design a job in SAP BODS, so what actually happens there? So we are going to generate an ABAP code, and that ABAP code will get executed against your SAP ECC system. So that is what actually happens in SAP database actually. So that is called as generate and execute. So generate an ABAP code in the SAP BODS system, then execute of the SAP BODS system, SAP system or database. So that is what an ABAP execution option will say that. And we also have a second option that is called as an execute preloaded. So what is meant when execute preloaded and all that we will see. So similarly, we have something called as a data transfer method. That is fine that you are trying to communicate with an SAP ECC system from BODS, but how actually the SAP have to send the information? What is the information that you are expecting from SAP ECC system? The data. The data, how actually it has to be sent to BODS. So there are like several methods are there. So direct download, shared directory, RFC, FTP, custom transfer. These are the 5 different types of data transfer method. So most of the companies, they will go for the shared directories, FTP and RFC. So direct download or custom transfer, they don't normally go for it. So similarly, we have something called as two types of data flows that we can create. If you remember, like in our all the jobs, we have created some data flows. So in the data flows, we have source, file format, data store, and target, again a file format or data store. So we have defined, and it has a process. Whenever I say normal data flow, so what actually is going to do in the normal data flow? So for small set of results, for small set of records coming to the source system, then we can take the normal data flow. When you have an RFC enabled functions are responsible for an extraction and loading of your data, CPU memory consumption would be very high. So these are the like the 3 points whenever you are going to use a normal data flow. And when you say a web data flow, so normally it will be used for the larger set of results. Large set of results means the results or the records are more than 512 KB, more than 512 KB, or what the records if you have in the source tables, then normally you can go for the web data flow. Okay, so in an ABAP data flow, what actually happens there? The ABAP core fired against an SAP to get an extract and load the data. And the memory consumption would be less when compared to the normal data flow. So when I say less, it doesn't mean that it doesn't consume at all. But when compared to the normal data flow, the ABAP data flow would be advantageous actually for us. And this is what reads, loads it, and how actually the BODS will talk to the SAP applications type of data store. So all these things that will be part of your SAP ECC and SAP BODS integration. Okay. Having this particular right, we will try to understand how to achieve and how to extract the data from SAP ECC system. As I mentioned previously, so what we will see is, well, extraction of an SAP system. The steps involved are, let me write it down so that I can take notes out here. The steps involved are, the first we have to create the SAP applications type of data store. So before the first step, we need to import the transports into an SAP ECC system. That is what we have to take care. So you will get a doubt like what actually these transports will have. These transports will have a function modules in function group. You know that these function modules are nothing but an ABAP programs. So what actually these function modules will do? These function modules responsibility here these function modules responsibility would be here to send the request to BODS and SAP system and if SAP ECC system returns the data, then pass the data to SAP BODS. That is a responsibility. Okay. If you want to communicate the system, yes, so function module is responsible for that. And if you want to trying to okay, the function modules are like they are going to send the BODS system and SAP ECC system. If an SAP ECC system returns the data, then it will pass the data to an SAP BODS system. So that is what actually happens from the function modules. So function modules plays a very important major role in an SAP ECC and SAP BODS communication. And you don't have any control over how actually the function module should work, but I'm trying to explain you what will happen whenever you're trying to communicate an SAP ECC and BODS will communicate with each other. And also, so you also need to make sure that what type of like ABAP what type of options that you are trying to use it. That we will see that. And once you are able to connect to SAP system, you will see different objects like tables. So we have something called as what we have, tables and hierarchies. What else we have? Tables, hierarchies, IDOCs. Functions. So these are and also extractors. Okay, so these are the 6 different objects from SAP ECC system we can extract the data from. And these batteries and functions are both are sometimes they will call as the same. So that's the reason why. So don't afraid if you don't see any particular objects in an SAP application type of data store. So now I will jump on the server and we will see and we will try to create an SAP applications type of data store.
Hey Venkat, I've got a question.
Yes,
Can
please.
can we extract the data from SAP table? I mean SAP query, info set query.
Yes, what do you mean by SAP query?
That is the info set query. SAP info set query.
Okay. So you mean to say the web code, you mean to say, right?
The classic info set, we have the classic info
Okay,
set.
okay, got it. Yeah, so yeah, if you are able to see my screen, so you have something called an extractors, functions, hierarchies, IDOCs, and then tables. So whatever the code that you want to write it, yes, you can write it, not a problem. So that query has to be defined as an extractor within an SAP ECC system. Getting my point? What I mean to say? So this is one option, one type of option what you are referring to. You can define an extractor within your SAP ECC system. You know that we have actually four types of an extractors: a transaction type of an extractor, attribute type of an extractor, hierarchy, and the text type of an extractors. So what type of data that you're trying to put it in there, and what actually the query will return. So all the queries you can maintain, or you can say, yeah, you can define as an extractor within the SAP system. And after that, you can release the third systems. Then you will see the extractor in SAP system. Sorry, in SAP BOD system. So when I say extractor, okay, is this fine now, or you still have the same problem? Okay, thank you. So we have something called an extractors. As I mentioned previously, extractors are nothing but your the customized ABAP the programs what we have in SAP ECC system. Those will be exposed to SAP BODS as an extractor. Okay. And yeah, so we are trying to create one SAP application set. So Now I will proceed with the creation of an SAP applications type of data store. So SAP application type of data store. I will say that SAP ECC connection. See here, whenever I am trying to create, it will show me that SAP applications type of data store for an SAP ECC system. I've just given a username and password here. Now, if I go to the advanced, you will see different options like generate and execute. What is an above execution option? So how you want to execute? Whether it is a generate and execute option or execute clear, we will see that. What is meant by that? So what is the client number? So what is the system number? So what is the type of data transfer method that you want to have? Whether you want to have the direct download, RFC, shared directory, FTP, and custom transfer. So it depends upon your selection. So the below options will be changed. See here, if it is a direct download, you have something called as working directory on SAP server, local directory, generated web directory. If you say RFC, we have an RFC destination, working directory on SAP server, generated web directory. Shared directory, so we have something called as application path to share it, working directory, and generate a web directory. Well, if it is an FTP, we have local directory, something like that. So the options will be changed depends upon the data transfer method you are trying to use it. So if you have written any particular web code again, if that made it as an executable object, then you can always put it in the custom transfer local directory, custom transfer program executable if you have anything you have given, if you have any username and password, and if you have any arguments to that particular custom code what you have written. So all the things that can be part of your custom transfer, but in general, in my experience, I never use custom transfer. So even the direct download is also not suggestible because it will eat away a lot of your resources. And so we use an FTP or else we use a shared directory. And from 4.1 onwards, because we are discussing the 4.2, right? The BODS 4.2. From 4.1 onwards, they also given something called as an RFC as one of the data transfer method. So okay, so this is how actually you have to make it. So shared directory, whenever it is a shared directory, it will ask you the working directory on SAP server, application path to shared directory, and so generate a web directory. We will see that what actually each and every folder will contain, and how actually the process of structure or the BODS will go to each and every level, and so we will proceed from there. Okay, so I see that I already created one ECC connection. So let's use that. Here, this is I already created one data store for an SAP application type of data store. Here we have something called as an web execution of generate and execute. And for now, just try to understand that I have selected only generate and execute. So once we create a sample the data flow, and once we are able to success, we will again come back to this screen and we will try to understand. So what is the significance of each and every option here? And also the very important options, we are going to use it, evaluation option, client number, system number, and we have something called a data transfer method, working data on SAP server, and application path, and generate an web directory. So what do you need to have and what is very important, and we will try to understand. And finally, once you have supplied all the information, so what we are going to do is you are going to simply apply and okay. Okay. So once you have created the data store, actually what you have to do is you have to double click on this, on the data store. So it will show you what actually you have here. I mean to say the metadata of what you are able to see in SAP ECC system. It will display everything here. So it will display the tables, hierarchies, extractors, what you already have. Whenever I say tables, you have an application table. So all these tables will be shown here. So let us take an example that if you want to have a VBAK table, then you can go ahead and you can search for the VBAK table, because this is a huge list. In the huge list, I cannot collapse on each and every arrow here, and I cannot see where actually my VBAK is. So instead of doing that, especially from an SAP ECC or SAP BW as resources, so we have to make sure that we will be using the search button. So if you take an example of a VBAK table, VBAK, yes, the name contains VBAK and click on search. Yes, please carry on.
Yeah, Venkat, how these metadata were exported to bots, BODS from ECC?
I didn't get you.
No.
So how? So let us. Okay. So I say how. It's all taken care of the function module. So if you remember, we have created the SQL Server connection. And whenever I go there, you have to see all the data. Okay. Import. I'm not saying anything. Okay. Because it is searching for it, right? While doing the searching, it will eat away a lot of resources. Then if I say something, it will break. The voice will be breaking badly. So that's the reason I'm not saying anything. Okay. So in order to answer your question, so we will follow the standard, like what are the steps that I have. So before the proceeding with your SAP ECC extraction from SAP with the help of an SAP BODS, as a first step, we need to import the transports, what we have, into an SAP ECC system. So that is what I believe we have to do. So Whenever I say transports, those transports are default transports given by the SAP BODS with its installation. Now we will see the installation folder of an SAP BODS now, and we will try to understand so what are the transports that I am referring to actually. So let me go to the let me go to the computer, and also we have something called as program files, SAP business objects, data services. Here we have something called an admin. Here we have something called as R3 functions. In that we have something called as transports. So these are the transports. So with the installation of an SAP BODS that will be provided to us. So basically, you know that the transport, it is going to give us some core files and the data files. Those core files and data files have to be provided to an SAP basis guy, and he is going to use a transport mechanism, and he is going to import those transports into an SAP ECC system. This is the first step you have to perform whenever we are going to communicate an SAP ECC system with an SAP BODS. And from 4.2 onwards, what actually happens here is, so you don't have to, you have to import these transports into an SAP ECC system, but with the 4.1 onwards actually, but in the 4.2 it is tightly integrated, and SAP BODS and SAP SAP ECC are tightly integrated from the 4.2 also 4.1 onwards. What actually happens here is, even if you don't import those function modules into an SAP ECC system, you are going to see your metadata and you are going to do some basic operations and all while executing the jobs. But it is always recommended to import these transports into an SAP ECC system before we start with an SAP BODS project. So these function modules, as I mentioned previously, these will have a ABAP, customized and ABAP programs. Those are all written by the SAP, and they have put in the function modules, and in turn they have put in the function groups. The function groups will have function modules. Those function modules are nothing but an ABAP programs. So all these things are added up, and whenever you are going to see the metadata, so the function modules within these transports are responsible. Whenever you click on the metadata, whenever you double click on the data store, actually here, whenever you are going to double click, where is that DST? Right. Whenever you're going to double click here, so automatically the one of the function module from the transported list will be there, and that will invoke the respective operations on SAP ECC system. Then it will receive a response. Then only those metadata will be shown here. Not only for this an SAP system, SAP ECC system. If you remember, we have created a lot of the SQL server, the data store. Where is that? Right. See here, I have SQL server underscore DB. If I double click on it, so these are all will be shown here, the metadata. So this is what called as the metadata here. But here in this particular SQL server, you don't have to do any particular thing. With the installation itself, automatically the BODS has a capability to import the metadata. That is one thing. But whereas for an SAP, because that is a very robust system and that itself is an OLTP system, so in order to import the metadata also, we have to tell the SAP in its language, in its language. You have to explain. So that's the reason why we are going to import the metadata before startup of your SAP and SAP BODS integration. So that is how actually you are going to see the metadata whenever I am going to double click on that particular respect to data store what we have. So earlier, so what we did, we have imported, we have searched for an VBAK table, and we are able to get the VBAK table. And so if I expand this data store, obviously you should see the VBAK table under tables column, under tables field. See here, I have VBAK, and also I have imported a search VBAP, and also I have entered it for the VBAP. So we have something called a sales document, sales header data, and sales line item data. So both will have. So these two has to be joined with respect to primary keys. Okay, so now we will see that how actually we are going to create a normal data flow. When I say normal data flow, you don't see any difference what we have been doing all these days. I have just mentioned as a normal data flow actually. Okay, so I will go for the SAP normal data flow. Double click here. Now whatever the table that you already imported, you can simply drag and drop like this. And VBAK. You know that there is a relationship between the VBAK and VBAP. Yes, I just clicked on the preview the data. It has shown me the data, what it actually has. So VBLN, the created date, changed date, created by, changed by. So all those different dates we have here. Okay, what is the type of quotation? So all these different types of information, it's already there. So in your ECC system. So similarly for the VBAP. The respect to information also I have given. So similarly, the document header and the document number and the document line item number for each document. So this is what here, so VBLN and PO is another the primary case here. So all those stuff that we have defined here. Now you can simply use the query transformation. As usual, nothing is special here. What you have been doing for SQL Server, the same with the same fashion you have to do the things. So if you want to have any primary keys or joins that you want to make it, yes, you're always welcome. See here, left out to join, right out to join, all those stuff. And normally what happens is, so a lot of companies will go ahead with load it into a staging actually. So when I say staging, so that can be SQL Server or something like that. We have a lot of things here. When I say MANDT, maybe this particular the information, whatever the client information that you're able to see, maybe you will have a records maybe other than 800, 800, maybe 200 records are all in this. Then what you can do is, so in the where clause, you can always say that VBLN or VBAK, so that is equal to. So finally, I have just created the template table to load into the target system. Same way, the same how actually we did, in a similar fashion, I am trying to create a template table here. So sales information, you can say that simply sales. So now you can execute the job. So now the load is going on. So we have, so these many number of records we have. So finally, we have 17,101 records who are loaded into the target system. So you can always go ahead and check it in the SQL Server whether we are able to load it or not. what is the name that we have given? It says that it is an invalid object. So we have to see that it's a sales only, right? So what is the location that I have given? What is the database name where I have actually saved it? Oh, this is the one. Okay. Database name is target SQL server underscore DB. This is the one. Now if I execute it, you should be able to see like 17,101 records with VBL, the respective the material number and the line item number, etc. etc. So this is how actually you are going to proceed with the selection of the sales information. This is how actually we are going to make use of a normal data flow. So if you see here, in the normal data flow, whenever I have used these two tables, you are able to see that some red color mark with a red color triangle. It says that, so generally it is not recommended to use this VBAK and VBAP tables or SAP tables in the normal data flow. That's the reason why it is giving you some warning kind of like the signal where, so please don't use this VBAK or VBAP in normal data flow if the data is huge. In general, you know that when compared to VBAK, VBAP will have lots of information because one sales header doc will have many number of sales line items. So that's the reason why normally what in the industry they are going to do is they are going to first load it into a SQL server, and once the data in their location, so what they are going to do is they are going to perform the like respective replication. So that will be running forever. And because all the staging to SQL server will be there, so maybe I will try to show it to you diagrammatically so that it will be very easy for you to understand. So whenever I say, let us take an example that we have something called as an SAP system. Okay, and in that particular SAP system, so you know that you already have a database. Okay, so what normally happens is in some companies, like whatever I know, what they normally do is even though they have this what you call as an SAP system as a what you call as SAP system as a source, they will try to give an access to SAP BODS, SAP database directly. What normally they will do is, so they will directly try to have a communication with this particular database, and they will replicate all the data. They will replicate all the data all the way to the SQL server. So let us take an example that this is a SQL server database. Okay, this is what your SAP system. In SAP system, you have an underlying database that can be SQL server or DB2 or whatever it may be. And those tables will be as it is will be replicated to SAP or any database that can be Oracle or SQL server or anything. They will try to first they will replicate. When they replicate, they will simply replicate. They are not going to do any changes. They are not going to do anything. So whatever they have, one-to-one mapping. Exactly one-to-one mapping they are going to do actually. Okay, so okay, maybe we will use the MS train to be very comfortable. I'm very comfortable with this. Yes, as I mentioned, so this is what your SAP system. In that SAP system, you have something called as an SAP database, and we have like a SQL server in the particular database you have, and that particular database will have an activity to extract the data from into a SQL server, So you will get it out how actually they are going to do that. They are going to do that in several fashions actually. They are like a lot of the things are there like Unity connector. A Unity connector is one of the connector where you can like directly communicate with your SAP POD underlying uh, database of SAP ECC system. Whatever the tables you have in SAP ECC system, so we can replicate and load the data into the SQL server. And on top of my SQL server, so let's take an example that this is what your SQL server. Now I have a SQL server. This particular SQL server will have all the related tables like VBAK, VBAP, like we have something called as MARA, like MARC. What are the tables you have? The master table, the transaction tables, whatever it may be. Once I have loaded it into the SQL server, then I will be in a very comfortable position, right, to SQL server. So I can use this particular SQL server as a source, and I can load into another SQL server as a final reporting. That is also can be done. This is also a SQL server. So all these tables, and here we will normally place a BODS. Okay, once this ETL is completed actually, so what actually happens here, once the ETL is completed, ETL, so now the SQL server will have the final records, final data. Then what you can do is, we have different options here actually. So you can go for the BobJ tools. If you go for the BobJ tools, you have something called a semantic layer has to be created in this particular BobJ. When I say semantic layer, you can create a universe here. Universe. You can also have a direct report like the reports. You can also have direct access to Excel dashboards. You can have direct access to Lumira files. So all these things are possible whenever you are having a BobJ tools in your company. If you don't have a BobJ tools, and if you are going for any other tool like ClickView, any other third party, any other other than the BobJ related tools, then yes, you can directly go for the ClickView. Related tools, okay, something like that. So ClickView. Okay, so this is how actually the landscape, the entire landscape is open. So when I say Unity connector is works like your SLT. So you know that a lot of people who already have an experience or learn an SAP HANA, you know that how actually the SLT will work out. So SLT will be worked out like on your trigger-based mechanism, DB trigger. So and also you have one more option called like type-based replication mechanism, right, in SAP HANA whenever you're trying to load in SAP HANA. Similarly, here also we can make use of this log-based replication called a Unity connector. Or also some other ways also you can do that, not a problem. So this is how actually you are going to perform your end-to-end reporting with your SAP ECC as your data source. But whatever the flow that I have given, that is not specific to an SAP ECC system. It can be it will be same for Oracle Labs, KV people of Civil Analytics. So all these things for all the OLTP systems, this process will be applicable here. Okay. So, but it is not mandatory as I mentioned previously. So what we can do is instead of directly communicating with an SAP database, this is not highly not recommended. So to directly communicate with an SAP PODS. In fact, a lot of companies won't allow us to perform this activity of directly communicating with an SAP SAP database actually. So because SAP is not going to allow to touch its database, we are going to see what are the objects that we can access. That is what we can do. That's it. So from the object standpoint, as I mentioned previously, so we can have an extractor, hierarchies, IDOCs, tables, and what we have an extractor and etc. We can have an access from the SAP ECC system. So this is how actually, so we are going to perform, we are going to achieve an activity of extracting the data from SAP ECC system. That's it from SAP ECC Extraction. It's very simple, very straightforward. So if you double click on this, you will see that like what you call as a 1,000 array file. If you remember that whenever you see a SQL server, in there also you are able to see that what is an array file. So if it is a 5,000, then in a single page it can extract 5,000 records from the source system. So that is what actually happens. So other than that, so everything is same as usual. So that is one thing. So once you have these particular options, so we have loaded the data into the target system. So this is how actually you are going to make use of next ECC system, and this is how actually you are going to make use of your the tables and all everything. See here, it's a very simple, very straightforward, and as similar to your what you call as an SAP related products. Okay, when you are trying to extract the data from SAP HANA, so or you are trying to load it in SAP HANA, the same process and same way you have to do that. I'm not saying that you have to get an ABAP data flow while performing an extraction from SAP HANA, but what I'm trying to differ is, if it is a SQL server or if it is an SAP ECC system, it doesn't matter for the BODS consultant. BODS consultant is nowhere related to what is the source he is assigned with. Okay, and the BODS guy is not at all interested in what he is trying to load it. If customer says that you need data in a SQL server, yes. So you will ask, okay, what is my username and password? What is the data store name? Who is going to configure my data store if I have to load data into a SQL server? If customer says that no, you have to load it to an IDOC. Okay, then you will ask, okay, what is my IDOC name? You have to provide me the IDOC name. If you are trying to load it a material related information, then definitely I will ask for the MATMAL01. Is that what you are looking for, or is there any something else? You have something like custom IDOC, what you have other than the like the SAP has provided. So whether what you would like to have, whether inbound IDOC, whether it is an outbound IDOC. So all information actually, so you have to take care actually. So other than that, everything is simple, everything is straightforward. Okay, so I think you understand till this point what is the normal data, how actually we are going to extract the very simple two tables using normal data flow. The same example we will see that using the ABAP data flow. So what is the change we have and how actually it is different, that we will see that now. So we have something called as an SAP extraction underscore ABAP data flow. Now, if you observe carefully, so here I have just clicked on the data flow here, df underscore, so okay, so df underscore SAP extraction underscore ADF. Okay. Whenever I double clicked on it, in the tool palette, I am able to see one more. This is called an ABAP data flow. See here, the ABAP data flow has to be defined within the data flow. Click here and place here. Now, it will ask you to create an ABAP flow. So before creating an ABAP flow, it will ask you, so what actually you want to have in the generate ABAP file name, what actually you need to have an ABAP of the program name, job name, and etc. etc. So we will see all these parameters later on. Don't worry about that. But for now, what I'm trying to give you information here, just pass the information, whatever it is expecting. So what is your data store? I want to I am trying to extract the data from this particular data store, DST underscore ECC system. Now, what is my generated ABAP file? I will give like y. So initially, let me give a wrong the file name. Let me see how and what is the method is going to throw us. So we have something called as ABAP. So there is an ABAP file name. This is an ABAP program name. This is a job. That's it. I have just mentioned like two things actually, ABAP file name and ABAP program name. I just apply. See here what it is saying. The program name must be start with either Y or Z or this backslash symbol. So what I will do, like I will start with Z. Apply. Okay. So okay. Now I have just defined one more data flow here. If you want, you can always change the data flow name, doesn't matter. So now we are trying to extract the tables inside an ABAP flow now. Double click in the ABAP data flow now. Simply drag and drop the ABAP data flow. I mean to say simply drag and drop the tables. What you have in an SAP ECC data flow. See here, whenever I have used these particular tables inside your inside your ABAP data flow, now the red color symbol is turned into green. So it says that okay, it is always welcome. So to use all these in SAP tables inside a ABAP data flow, but not in the normal data flow. That is what we are trying to refer here. So similarly, we have something called as VBAP. Use the same thing and same operation. Nothing will be changed. So what you would like to have, if you would like to have something called as from VBAP, yes, you can select. Otherwise, if you need VBAK and only sales line item from VBAK, yes, you can always select from here. So what I will do is, I will say that till SD document category, and I will see that, okay. Simply drag and drop the query. That's it. I have query. But along with that, I also need to have a sales line item and the material number and extract the batch number, material group, and all other things also I need. So that's the reason why I'm going to insert below. And again, the same way, how actually you did previously. So the sales document number from the VBAP should be equal to sales document number in the VBAK. That's it. And if you are not sure, so how actually your the client number of clients you have. Maybe you can have like what do you call as more than one client information is also there in that particular table. Then it is better to filter that from the client also. So that's the reason why I'm also placing one more information, something like this. So VBAK, MND, and VBAP, MANDT. And I will also say that VBAK, MANDT is equal to 800. I want to have specific to 800. If I have other than 800, I am not interested in that. So now I have two tables with the one and now within the file the data flow actually the target would be always transport data transport object. See here. So this is called your data transport. So within an ABAP data flow, you have to remember that always it will take data transport object as your source, as your target, always. So simply connect. That's it. After that, you can simply double click. So you have to give the name here, name of the file it gets generated. So you will see it, you will have a doubt, why file, why not some other thing? Yes, so for that also I have an answer for that. So for now, just try to understand how actually we are designing an end-to-end web data flow. Then later we can discuss on what are the different the features we have. The file name that I'm giving is something like y underscore maybe sales load. That is information I have given. Dot that fine. Okay, so now the end-to-end part of an ABAP data flow is completed actually. Within an ABAP data flow, the process is completed. Now we are come out of the ABAP data flow. Now use the query transformation as usual, as if this is a source for us. And if you go to the query transformation, you will see whatever the field that you have selected earlier. So you are able to see everything, and I am going to drag and drop into the target system. Go back. As usual, so we can load the data into the respective table. Now simply execute the job. See here, first the data flow will be started. After that, it will start the web flow within the data flow. Now the web data flow gets started. Now once the web data flow completed, the data flow will be successful. When the data flow is successful, then the job is also successful. Data flow is complete. Actually, now we will see number of records what we have here. Yes, yes. So it seems to be have some connectivity issues, but yeah. So I have loaded the data into the target. So these are the any questions. Do you have any questions, guys? Is this like how access the web data flow and what is the process that we have used or not and everything? So are you able to hear me? Now are you able to hear me? There seems to be some server connectivity issues. Because of server connectivity issues, even my voice is also going down. So are you able to hear me now? Or you still have a problem? So that if you still have a problem, I will try to repeat it once again. That's the only reason I'm just asking. Okay. So this is how actually the web data flow will be worked out, and even the normal data flow also. So this is the basic difference of actually you have to proceed with the web data flow and the normal data flow. So do you have any questions at this point? If you understand, say yes, so that I will understand. Sure, definitely. The differences between the normal data flow and the ABAP data flow would be the normal data flow it doesn't create any ABAP code actually. So what it is going to do is it is going to use a native SQL. When I say native SQL, so the BODS will normally follow the native SQL. Whenever we are going to write any particular logic within an SAP BODS, it is going to generate a native SQL. That native SQL will be fired against your source systems. So whenever you are going to use the data, whenever you are going to try to extract the data from the SAP system, if you use the normal data flow, the BODs will generate a native SQL language, and that query will fire against an SAP system. What are the function modules that we have? Those function modules will try to convert that SQL server in code into your native ABAP, the code, where actually that SAP will understand. That is one thing. And the second thing is, whenever you are going to use a normal data flow, whatever the function modules that you are able to see, like for extraction, for execution, for the response, and all, those are all already RFC enabled function modules. When I say RFC enabled function modules, you know that. So those function modules are having a capability to have a act with the remote function call, so RFC. So that is the normal data flow, and normal data flow will be used whenever we have a less number of records, like maximum of 512 KB of records if we have. So it is highly recommended to use an ABAP data flow. But I'm not saying that we cannot use if the records are more than 512 KB. No, we can use it, not a problem. But it will eat away a lot of your virtual memory on your system. So that's the reason why if the number of records are very high, then try to go ahead with an ABAP data flow rather than go ahead with the generation of a native SQL and fire against an SAP and convert it into an ABAP and all and everything. If you have a more number of records, it is always recommended actually to proceed with an ABAP data flow. That is what actually happens. Now we are in an ABAP data flow. Now we will try to see what are the objects that we have an access actually. I mean to say I'm able to drag and drop. Okay, when you say delta, so two types of delta that we can do that. So you can simply write the condition here as usual. What you are writing here depends upon your created date on which the record got created, or depends upon the change date. You can always do a delta here. That is one thing. Okay. So the delta can be possible at this particular where clause. You can write it. If you want to have the depends upon the change date and depends upon the like the created date, you can always have a last 5 years data, maybe 1 day data. So that is possible. Okay, that is one thing. So anyway, like you already know that, like how to handle the data. Like you need to have one more control table. You can store the latest the change on created on date in that control table, and from the control table you can get that maximum value what we have in the previous load, and greater than that value if you want to have almost the last 5 days value. So all the logic that are general, not only for the BODS, for anything else. So if you want to perform that type of delta, yes, you can say that always. I mean to say, let me take another example. So when I say delta, so you have an SAP VPAK, VBAP, something like that, and here, and also you have something like an SAP BODS system. Right, and also have one more called as control table. So this is what your SAP system, SAP ECC system, and this is what your SAP BODS, and this is what your control table. Let us take an example. So you are doing a delta, depends upon your created date and the change date. So what initially you are going to do is you are going to do a full load, obviously. So everything will be loaded into the target table. This is what your target table. Let us take an example. This is what your target table. Then what you are going to do is you are going to initially load everything into the target table. Then what actually it is going to do, the control table, you are going to write a script within the BODS scripting object where it says select max of change the date or the create date. So So whichever is maximum, just put it in the control table. Maybe something like you can update in a table of formats. You can update something like this, like 2015 0. What it is that 01 30 30. Let us take an example. That is a max state you have, and tomorrow you are going to run the job again. Then what we are going to take up? We are going to take up this particular value, whatever we have loaded already. And once you have that particular value already, so what you are going to do here is you are going to perform an activity. So what is that activity? So you are going to take that, and more than this particular value where we have changed on or created on will be there. More than this particular value, please take those and the target system. So that is what actually happens here. Okay. So from the BODS standpoint, how you are going to perform the delta, that won't be changed. Anything would be same, whether it is a SQL level or it is an SAP ECC system. It won't be changed at all. Okay. The only thing is you have to understand is like, so when you have to use an ABAP data flow, when you have to use a normal data flow. That's it. That is the only thing you have to understand. Okay, this is how actually you are going to see. So once this part is completed, now you know that end-to-end how to an ABAP data flow will be there. So we can understand that ABAP data flow can take tables inside it, but you will try to have an idea like whether the ABAP data flow will take hierarchies or not. Yes, ABAP data flow will take hierarchy. Now we will also see like ABAP data flow will be able to take extractors or not. ABAP data flow can take extractors also. Okay. So till now we have worked with the tables. So what are the tables and application tables we have? So now we will try to understand the background mechanism. So what would have happened actually? So whenever we are trying to say that whether I have an ABAP data flow, I have a normal data flow. So what would have happened behind the screen whenever I have used an ABAP data flow? So that is a very important point that you have to understand. For that, I will try to open a diagram. It is a very, very important where it will help you to understand what would have happened whenever I have created an ABAP data flow. See here, I have created an ABAP data flow with an SAP BODS. That particular ABAP data flow will send a request to an SAP database. If it is a table you have used, it will send the table. Or hierarchies you have used in ABAP data flow, it is going to send a hierarchy related the data. And if you are going to use the functions, yes, it is going to talk to the function modules there. So if you are going to send a request to the SAP applications also, whatever you have already imported the function modules after installation of an SAP BODS, those function modules are responsible. So it is a very, very important point that you have to understand. The function modules are very important here. So like all the modules what you have imported in installation of an SAP BODS, all the functional modules are everywhere. It is important. If you want to load it, read it. So if you want to access it, if you want to import the metadata, if you want to send a program and receive a response, for each and everything you need to have a ABAP data flow. I mean to say the function modules. So earlier we have created one data flow, ABAP data flow. That ABAP data flow will send a request to an SAP database. Okay, if it is a table or hierarchies or functions, so you're going to send a respective request to the respective SAP database. That is what we are going to do. So once that is completed, So what actually happens, if you remember in an ABAP data flow, we have used VBAK, VBAP. After that, we have used query transformation. After that, we have used transport, data transport. See here, whenever we have done that, one file will get generated by the SAP system automatically. So that is what actually you understand here. Whenever, so we are trying to have an ABAP data flow send a response, send a request to an SAP database. So it will generate one transport file. The ABAP data flow will generate a transport file here. The ABAP data flow will generate a transport file. Upon execution of an ABAP data flow, the transport file will get generated. So that transport file is a target within an ABAP data flow. This is very, very important. A lot of people will get confused. The target in the ABAP data flow is always data transport. So other than the data transport, we cannot have any other data target. Okay. So data transport. So transport is a way of using it, a transport file. So once that is completed, so you will the ABAP data flow again read the data from that transport file, and with this particular cycle, ABAP data flow, send a response or receive a response. With this particular cycle, actually, see here, when I say cycle, so sending a response is one thing, and again, after that, the SAP database will generate a file. Again, the file will be read by the ABAP data flow. So this circular, the process is completed. Then the cursor will come out of an ABAP data flow, and we will be in the normal data flow. And after that, we are going to do a regular process of loading into a target system. So that is what actually happens. So we have created one ABAP data flow. In that we have used VBA. We have joined with query transformation. So after that, you have it into a transport file. The transport file will become my source in the when the cursor come out of the ABAP data flow, then I'm going to use query transformation, load it into the target system. So that is what actually happens whenever I'm going to make use of an ABAP data flow. That is one thing. So similarly, if you are using any DAPI calls, similarly if you are using an IDOCS, the same process will go on within an ABAP data flow even. Okay. So the job server is responsible for each and everything. So whenever you are going to send a response, so the ABAP data flow response will go out. But whenever we are going to have a transport file, the transport file could have an access to the job server location. If the transport file is not in a location where the job server is not able to find out, then you are gone. So you won't be able to execute the job perfectly fine. So that is a very important point you have to understand. Okay, so first understand only the particular part, so later on you will understand by your own. Okay, so now we'll see that so but before that we have edit. So we have something called as generate and execute. When I said generate and execute, if you remember, we have used an ABAP data flow. When we have used an ABAP data flow, what actually we did here is we have selected generate and execute option. That is the generate and execute option. The ABAP data flow will generate the like execute option. The ABAP data flow will generate an ABAP code of whatever we have, and that ABAP code will be executed against an SAP server. That is what meant by generate and execute. The generate and execute option is normally useful in the development environment, okay? But whereas in the production environment, so normally companies won't go for this generate and execute, okay? But they will go for the execute preloaded. Execute preloaded. So this is very important point. A lot of people will ask you in the interviews actually. So the ABAP data flow option will be when actually is useful. So generate and execute option will be used in adapt execution option. So whereas an execute preloaded will be used in the production system, and execute and the generate and execute will be used in the development option. These are the two options. When I say generate and execute, what actually happens actually? So when I say generate and execute, the what do you call as the BODs will generate an ABAP code actually. Where actually the ABAP code will be there, whether we will be able to see that ABAP code in real time. In real time, normally in your projects you won't be able to see that because the server guys they don't provide you the access to those files. But here, so we are fortunate, and because they're all demo systems, we will be able to see those the files. See here, please consolidate on three files. Because I have used data transfer method as shared directory. Please consolidate on these three. Actually, working data on SAP server, SAP application to shared directory, generated a directory. So these are the three directories where actually, so we can able to see the data now. So we will see that one is called as working directory on SAP server. So we are not sure whether we have an access to that or not. Similarly, we have something called as an application path to shared directory. So let us see whether we have an access to that. So generate an ABAP directory. What is meant by AL11?
Yeah, Venkat, this is in ECC we can see the the file path inbound and outbound files. So AL11 the T code.
Okay. 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 Yes. Yeah. If you are able to have it, that should be fine. But when you say like the files, I don't think that those will be available because these files are generated by the SAP and it is giving us actually in our respective folders. Okay. But I'm not sure like how in AL11 what actually the files will have. So maybe the files will have or ABAP generated the files in an SAP. I don't know that. I don't have any concrete information on that on AL11. For this particular the file generation scenario. Okay, so let's see that whether I have an access or not. It seems like you don't have an access. So maybe we'll try to understand here from C program data. See here. So this is a place actually whatever we have generated that you were able to see here. So whatever we have generated, so how you can see that? See here the edit, and this is the place actually you have given the information. What is that? Working data on SAP server, application path to share directory, and generate an ABAP directory. Now you will see that what is the file got generated by the ABAP data flow, and what is the program in that and ABAP file also that you can see now. In order to understand that, let's go to the properties of the ABAP data flow and try to understand what you have given. You have given something called as an ABAP file. Let us see where we have that ABAP file. See here, ABAP file that got that created on 1/31/2015 IST. So open this particular file. Maybe I will try to open it in the notepad. See here, so this is what an ABAP file actually, okay? This is called an ABAP file, where this particular ABAP file will have an ABAP code actually. So what is the program name that you have given? See here, it is generated, and your program name is the ABAP file, and the generated ABAP file is workspace ABAP file. See here, the tables are VBAK, VBAP, and the rest of the things are you like, the ABAP code. See here, this is a select statement. See here. So this is what actually happens. Okay. So this is an ABAP file that got created, and within that ABAP file, you have given the ABAP file, is the program name that we have given. So you are able to see that even though the ABAP file program name also. This is how actually you were able to see it. But in real world, you won't be able to see those actually. So this is what actually happens. But in the production environment, you should get it down. The production environment, you said that it should be an execute preloaded, but how actually ABAP code will get generated? The answer here is, whenever the code got migrated into the production environment, so manually you have to put it, execute and preload it, and run the job for very first time. Then what you can do is you can change the setting from execute and generate and execute to execute preloaded. Then you have to save the data store. That is what actually happens. So for very first time, whether it is any environment, you have to use an generate and execute option, so that this file will get generated. In the file, you will have a ABAP code that is also will get generated. Later part, you don't have to again and again create the table. Again and again create the file. You can use an existing code what you have in this, because the code won't be changed. The code won't be changed unless you have changed the logic in the BODS. So that is what actually happens here with the help of this particular SAP BODS, so the ABAP data flow. Okay, so this is how actually the ABAP data flow is a normal table. So how actually the application table will help you a lot in this particular scenario. If you have a very technical ABAP, the strong team, so what you can do is a lot of companies they will ask them to create a custom extractors. The custom extractors, you already know that those are all the custom ABAP programs that can be written in an SAP ECC system. Those can be written there, and you can extract those like extractors in an SAP BO. That is also possible. So either way you can do that in general. But whatever, it all depends upon the company to company. But in my projects, whatever we have used most of the things are normal tables only. We use an ABAP data flow. We used to load it into the SQL Server as a staging. Then after that, we used target. We used to load it into the target system. And later on, we will do the deltas, everyday deltas. That is possible. If you want to try at your end, you can try in your demo system by creating one sample custom extractor that can be an attribute or text extractor, maybe hierarchy extractor, maybe attribute extractor. You can try anything, and you can give an access to allow those third-party systems like BODS and other systems can see those extractors, and the BODS can access those extractors. That is also we can do that. It all depends upon how actually you are going to write your ABAP code. So that's all. If your ABAP code, like facilitate any delta mechanism, yes, you can also do a source-based delta rather than getting into everything into the query and then in query transformation rather than like defining the filter. You can also do a source-based delta. When I say source-based delta, while coming from the source itself, you will get only delta records, so not all. That is also you can do that, but it's all customized of an ABAP code, right? So that's the reason why companies are not that very much interested because they have to engage one more guy for this and they have to like invest some the billable cost and all and everything for service-based companies. So that's the reason why normally if they are comfortable with the number of hours or number of minutes the job is running, so they are fine. They don't have to worry at all. If they feel that job is very low, job is running very slow and they have to purchase a new hardware system, they have to add any particular RAM or any particular physical memory, then they will think of, okay, what are the better options we have? Instead of using the application table, why don't we directly write an ABAP code, something like that. That is also possible. And some companies, what they will do is, some of my projects where I have worked on, the ABAP code will generate a text file. Say .csv file, sorry, .tsv file, and they are going to give me the .csv file. So we have hundreds of jobs like that. So we have a .csv file, and we are going to, extract those files, where we will be loading into the target system. Whatever the data mechanisms, whatever the full code, whatever the mechanisms they have, they will try to see everything is there in the ABAP code itself. And once that ABAP code is there, then what we will do is we will try to consume only those files. For the BODS guy, it is not required how actually the ABAP code has written and all. So they will simply give us a file in a shared folder, and you have to use a if conditional clause we have used in previous sessions, and we have to proceed further. That we have to do. That is also possible. It all depends upon the company to company. Okay, in my company, we have used something called an SAP ECC systems as a sources and SAP CRM tables as a sources, something like that. Okay, so where we have to get something like maybe sales doc header, maybe sales like line item, sales doc line item, and also if you want to have capital code header, capital line item, contract line item, contract header. If you have to get all these different types of business verticals analysis, if you want to do that, yes, we have to do some consolidation of the SAP ECC and SAP CRM. That is also possible. What I will do is, for the guys who are actually like to perform, so what I will do is I will try to have one example. So what are the consolidation that we did it, and what is the finally we have arrived. So one example that I'm going to post it in the training block and just try to follow that actually, because I don't have to tell you the what are the tables and all and everything. So I will just give you a table. I will just give you so what else you have in the source system and what I'm achieving in the target system. So just you can practice in that way, because I don't have to give you any like the tables or files for that, because since you are connecting to an SAP system, so whatever it is very simple for me to just simply like put it the table names. So I will put it as table names. I will give you some standard mapping guidelines. You can go ahead and you can do that. So with a single example, you will be able to understand what actually end to end what you are trying to do. So that is the ECC extraction. So in the ECC extraction also we have some more 2-3 topics are there. I mean to say it is very unusual. If it is a hierarchy, yes, simply hierarchy. Just put a hierarchy. If it is hierarchies also for BODS, it will be simply hierarchy. That's it. It will be simply two-dimensional table. Okay, it will be in the flat structure. If you want to convert the data into the flat structure, you have different transformations for that. But as of now, the tables, application tables, and we will also see an extractors, type of extractors and all and everything. And after that, so what we will see, what we cannot do. Some functions we may not be able to use it against an SAP sources. And so we will also won't be able to use some transformations against some SAP sources, that we will see that. So if you take an example of table comparison, okay. So you remember that we have used some table comparison. So let us take an example that we are using a table comparison. In the table comparison, what we have compared actually, we have compared with the slowly changing STD type underscore 12 and the target underscore SQL server underscore DB. Okay, this is a SQL server actually. So what happens if my target is in SAP? So what happens if my source is in SAP? Whether we will be able to do that? So that is $1 million question here. See here. So please observe carefully here. So what you have an access here. Whether we will be able to do that, whether we will be able to achieve here, that is where actually you have to understand here carefully. See here. You will be able to access to only the target tables what you have. Okay? In an SAP ECC system. If you talk about an SAP BW, in an SAP BW, whatever may be the thing, you would be able to compare with the tables. That's it. Okay? So that is one thing. And the second thing is, if you remember, we have used one lookup whenever we are trying to understand with a row generation transformation. We have discussed one lookup. In the lookup, I am simply saying one lookup actually. I am proceeding with the lookup. Let us take an example. The lookup table is where is my lookup table? So this is what actually you have to see here. When I say lookup table, DST, Mara. So what is the result table? So maybe I'm MATNR. So compare field. What do you want to compare? So maybe I want to compare MATNR. And what is my expression? So to where actually I have to say for this maybe plan data, plan number. Here it says that there was a validation error with the function or one of its parameters. So what are those? Here maybe default value. So I'm going to give it like the question mark. I'm just trying to give you that's it. See here. So we're trying to compare with the table what you have in the ECC and the table what you have in the SQL. So this is what actually happened. So previously, in previous to this, the 4.1, in 4.0, the PODS 4.0 is not possible for us actually to perform. See here, it is giving some error. What is that? Yes, we have to remove this. See here, something like this. So it will allow us to perform an activity to have a lookup into an SAP ECC system from BODS. In prior to this 4.1, so from 4.1 onwards this feature is enabled, but prior to this 4.1 you won't be able to look into an SAP ECC table. That is not possible. You won't be able to compare ECC table field and SQL Server table field. So those are all enhanced. So previously those are all not there. From 4.1 onwards they have introduced all these things. So that is where actually the limitations comes into the picture in the 4.0. From 4.1 onwards everything can be done. The comparison, the table comparison, the lookup transformation, etc. Okay. So having this particular knowledge, so we have one more the type of category of objects we will see that is called as extractor. So when I say extractor, so we have mainly actually you know that. So extractors are four types actually. One is called as an attribute type of an extractor. Another one is called as text type of an extractor, hierarchy type of an extractor, and we have something called as a transaction type of an extractor. These are the four types of an extractors. But so if you want to get all the four, so what you need to have? We have something called as two main category types of extractors. One is called as ODP enabled extractors. ODP enabled extractors we have. We have one is called as ODP not enabled extractors. So ODP enabled extractors and ODP API not enabled extractors. So API. Okay. So these two are the two types of extractors we have. If we have all the four type of extractors, then you can say that it is a ODP API enabled extractor. If we have only two out of these two, then we have ODP API not enabled extractors. When I say ODP API is nothing but operational data processing, or they will also say that provisioning from the HANA standpoint. So ODP API is very much required if you want to have delta mechanism. If you want to perform a source-based delta, in that scenario, normally you can make use of a ODP API enable extractors. That is the basic usage of it. So now we will expand now. So we will be having a different extractors. So what we have and all, just try to select, and we will see that now. What we have here. Healthcare. See here, this is called the text type of extractor. Just try to import. That's it. How you know? See here, it says that what is the project into which you want to import and what is the consumer name. That is what actually happens. Because this is the text You don't have a CDC on that particular field. So that's the reason why you want to be able to see here. The name of the project. When I say name of the project, you can have something like BODS. I'm trying to fetch data here. Unfortunately, we don't have any data in this particular extractor. Text data extractor. So let me check in the Xerantech. ODP objects. Here in 4.2 it is an ODP objects. Okay, we are not saying that this is an extractor. In 4.2 we are saying that ODP objects. I just clicked on my application, so it's taking some time because it has a lot of objects we have in the extractor standpoint. Maybe automotive. So we don't have extractors here. Oh, they don't have any. In healthcare, even in healthcare also don't have any. We don't have anything here in the Xerantech server. Let me check in different server. Higher education, country option generic. We don't have here. We will see by all. So let us see here. See here. Now you see that something called an ATTR, attribute type of extractor. Now you see that there is called the text type of an extractor. Other than that, you won't be able to see any other type of extractors. See here, you are able to see either transaction type of extractor, sorry, either attribute type of an extractor you are able to see, or else you are able to see something called as the text type of extractor. So I am trying to import the tag numbers related to the extractors. See here, whenever earlier I have extracted the text type of an extractor, that's the reason why the CDC is not enabled there, and this time I have see here, these are all the fields that is coming from the source system. So what you want to have here, ODQ. ODQ is nothing but operational data queues. In an SAP, what do you call as an SAP environment, we have one more concept that is called as an operational data queue. You might have already know about that. So where it has a runtime database, and wherever you have enabled some CDC on that particular change mode or entry, so you can give your comparison here, and what is the source and what is the from and what is the two values you can pass it, and it will automatically become your CDC. Only the records who are satisfied with your the delta criteria, maybe you can give that. Maybe if you have any particular the records where you are loading into the target system. So similarly, if you have any transaction type of data stores, so where you can have a change rate, or maybe you have the created date, you can give the comparison here, and you can load the data into the target system. But most of the scenarios that will work in the industry are the application tables. You don't have to worry at all regarding these particular extractors. If you are able to work it out, that is fine. But normally what happens, there are demo systems, so each and every the thing is not available actually. In your real system, yes, because everything is licensed and you will get everything. So that's the reason why. So unfortunately, so we won't be able to proceed even if I, write any comparison here. And this is the place actually if you want to do any CDC. So you will get a doubt. If I check this particular CDC, it will automatically work out? No. The extractor that you are talking about is OVP underscore tax number underscore ATTR. This is what your extractor name. So maybe in your SAP ECC system, you have to write an ABAP code in such a way that it should support the delta. I mean to say, like, the ABAP code itself should talk about it now. Then only this particular CDC and this particular parameters and everything will be taken care. And also your extractor, I mean to say, the ABAP code in an ECC system should be in a condition to consume some parameters. Then only it can give some output. So all these things, as an ABAP consultant, you should be able to take care. But as a BODS consultant, it is not related to BODS guy. He is not at all responsible for that. Okay, so how the ABAP code is written and all that. So in one of the projects where I have worked on, so my company has decided to not to use an ABAP code. So they want to take out the ABAP codes completely. I mean to say. So one of the projects. So what they did is, one ABAP guy is there, so he used to sit with us and he used to explain what actually the ABAP code is doing. So what is the process it is doing, what the file is generating and all that. What ABAP code is doing, we used to replicate the same in our BODS logic. So that is very, very important. Of course, the ABAP code is, for me it seems to be complex initially because I'm not 100% into the ABAP coding. So that's the reason why, like he used to explain us everything, what this table will do, what is the loop will do, what is an internal table concept in a ABAP code while writing it, how actually the tables will be get stored in a runtime. So all these things he used to explain, depends upon the explanation what he has given. We used to generate the BODS job. We used to create a BODS job that is equivalent to ABAP. Okay, so that is how actually we are going to see. If you are an ABAP guy, if you in your company, if you have an ABAP team, if you want to work with them, scenario, yes, you can go ahead and generate an ABAP code on your VBAK VBAP table. If you want to perform any delta, please include the delta code even in the ABAP code. And also, if you want to perform any particular scenario of loading into the target system, yes. So just do in an app and as an extractor in the ECC system. That will be in the list in the data store. Okay, you can select and you can define your CTC the field here. You can write your comparison here, and that's it. Your CTC will get enabled. Okay, so this is how actually you are going to proceed with the usage of an extractor actually. So other than that, whenever you are going to drag and drop an extractor into your workspace of an SAP BODS, it is very simple, very straightforward. So like your table, that's it. Like you're extracting the data from your table, the similar fashion you have to load it into the target system and extract the data from extractors. Similarly the hierarchies, okay. We will see hierarchies and a bit of an explanation regarding this particular what do you call as SAP system, ECC extraction. And tomorrow session after that we will see at how actually the BW extraction happens. Once these two complete, let me work with server guide, and so we will try to see that how to load it into the SAP BW and ECC system. That is the plan I have. Okay. And also, yeah, that's it. I would like to tell you for today's